Do you also have that voice in your head that is commenting on everything you do? Before you take action, it analyzes. When you take action, it judges. And after, it replays everything you could have done better. It questions your decisions, it warns you, it doubts you. And the more important the action, the louder it gets. Sometimes it doesn't scream, it sounds reasonable. It says things like, you're not ready yet, you're not good enough to start. What if you mess this up? Who do you think you are to do that? So what we usually do is we try to argue with it, control it, silence it, or push through it. And that's exactly where things start going wrong. Because that voice isn't random. And it's definitely not a sign that something is wrong with you. For a long time, I thought I needed to get rid of it. And honestly, I've tried everything most people try. Positive thinking, mindset hacks, forcing confidence, telling myself, just do it. And as you can guess, it never worked. In fact, the more I tried to suppress that voice, the louder it became. And I want you to know something in here. After coaching over 150 people and doing more than 1,500 hours of one-on-one coaching, I realized that we all have this pattern in common. Highly capable people not stuck because they're lazy or lack discipline, but because they're identifying with this voice in their head. So in this video, we're going to break this down clearly. First, what that internal voice is, from where it comes, what is it exactly, and what it's not. Why trying to suppress it is the exact reason why you're still feeling stuck with it, and a super strong yet simple tool to use to lower the volume down. And to define who we are, because this might sound like a very deep question of like, who are you? It's much easier to also define who we are not. First, we're not our body. Because if you grow your muscles, you're still the same person with muscles. If you were short and now you're tall, you're also the same person in different body. You're not your role because maybe you were a consultant and now you have a marketing agency. You're still the same person, but in different role. So you're not your height, you're not your body, you're not your role. You're not even what you identify with, because even that you can change. So who we are actually is a soul. And let that land for a second. And how do I describe a soul? I would describe a soul as, I just imagine it as a small person sitting on a chair, like super zoomed into my brain, just looking at everything. It's the observer of everything that is happening. So if we are the soul, who's that voice in our head? Because we're definitely not that voice. Because let's take the example of this bottle, okay? If I'm able to see this bottle, it means I'm not the bottle, because the moment you can observe it, there's two things happening. There's the thing you're observing and there's the observer. So if that voice is something that you can shut down, you can calm, that you can talk to, it means it's not you, it's not identified as you, because you can see it, not maybe see it tangibly, but you can hear it, you can make it shut up, you can make it talk louder, or do weird things in your head. So that voice is actually the ego. Not ego in terms of arrogance or being full of yourself, but ego being defined as programmed identity. The ego was built over time through experiences, conditioning, what is wrong, what is good, what safety means, what danger means, and who you are as a person. It's a mental structure designed to protect you, to predict outcomes, to avoid pain, rejection, failure, or danger. And this is the key distinction people never make. You are not the voice. You are the one observing the voice. You are the awareness that notices the thought. The presence that hears the commentary. The consciousness experiencing the mind and the body. You are the observer. The voice is the narrator. The ego lives in the mind. You live through the mind. The ego runs on all data, old experiences, learned fears, conditioned beliefs. It speaks in warnings, doubts, scenarios, not because it wants to sabotage you, but because its only job is to keep you safe. So when that voice tells you to hesitate, to wait, to not take the big risk, it's not truth responding, it's programming responding. And that's a big difference. And once you really understand that who you are is the observant, noticing and observing the thought that is not you, things start slowing down. Because you no longer have to obey every thought just because it appeared. Now here's where most people make things worse without realizing. All my clients, when they come to the realization that they're not their voice, the first question that pops into their mind is, How do we get rid of it? You try to suppress it, reject it, push through it, or replace it with better thoughts. You tell yourself to be more positive, more logical, to stop responding emotionally, to just focus and move on. And for a moment, it feels like it's working. But suppression doesn't remove the voice, it amplifies it. Because when you try to silence the ego, you're sending a signal that this is a threat. And anything the mind's label as dangerous becomes even more important. The ego interprets suppression as a threat. So it reacts by speaking louder, repeating itself more often, and creating stronger emotional charge just to make sure you don't ignore it. That's why the more you tell yourself don't think about it, the more you think about it. And here's a powerful exercise. I want you to close your eyes for a second, literally just close them. And I don't want you to think about an elephant. Ta-da! What you're thinking about is an elephant. The problem isn't the thought itself, it's the resistance towards the thought. Resistance creates tension, tension creates fixation. And fixation keeps you stuck in your head instead of living the present moment. This is why trying to control your mind feels exhausting. You're not meant to fight with this voice. You're meant to see it without obeying it. When you stop resisting, the voice loses its urgency. Not because it disappears, but because it doesn't need to shout out loud for you to hear it. And that's the shift. From suppression to awareness. From reaction to choice. So the goal was never to silence that voice. And it was never to get rid of it. The real work is learning how to relate to it differently. Because that internal voice will always show up. Especially when you're doing something meaningful, stepping into the unknown or raising the stakes. But it doesn't need to control you. And you don't need to argue with it. You don't need to believe it. And you definitely don't need to obey it. You can notice it, acknowledge it, and still decide to move forward. That's what emotional mastery looks like. Not the absence of fear, not a quiet mind, but the ability to listen to that voice and act differently. I promise you that when you stop fighting that voice, it loses so much power. When you stop identifying with it, you regain your choices. And from that place, execution becomes lighter, clearer, and more consistent. Not because the mind is perfect, but because you're no longer run by it. And that's the difference between stuck in your head and leading yourself forward. So I'm going to give you a very practical tool that I give all my clients, and I would love to gift you that tool that is super, super powerful. So I want to do it with you. So I want you to close your eyes for a second, and I'm going to ask you to name that voice in your head a specific name. Don't overthink it. Don't think about it too much. It should be a name that is very neutral, something that you don't like, something that you don't dislike or like that much. For me, for example, the name is Bob. Now you can open your eyes and you can write down the name of that voice. Second is to start visualizing that voice externally and start telling it, for example, you're doing a task, instead of having this narrator of like, hey, you should do this, and you really just want to execute, you put this person next to you visually. Mine is Bob, so I put Bob next to me and I tell him, Bob, for the next hour, I really don't want to listen to you. And after that, I'm going to acknowledge you. And I'm going to hear your thoughts, but for now, I just want to really focus on that task. I know this sounds silly, but I promise you it really works. For example, when I meditate, and I've been meditating 1 hour every single day for over now a year, and it's life-changing. That could be definitely a different topic for a different video. If you would love to know a bit more about the benefits of it, just put it in the comments below. And basically what I do is when I start meditating, I put Bob in front of me. I put a zip tie on his mouth, on his eyes, and I just tell him, Bob, for the next hour, I really don't want to hear you anymore. And I always see Bob trying to fight against me, trying to talk, and I just lower the volume down. And slowly, it's like the gym. You build the muscle. Here's the biceps. But the more you train things, the better it becomes, the easier it is. So the more and more you can lower that Bob in your head and really make it intentional of having sessions of shutting him down. And also, I also have sessions where I'm just like walking me and Bob, whatever comes to your mind, just speak it out loud. And I just start listening to Bob talking and talking and talking. And if you realize that you're gonna realize that Bob is quite funny. It really never really shuts up. It talks about everything and nothing, and it just loves to, you know, talk and comment on things. And then when you start doing those exercises, your relationship with your thoughts becomes way different than what it used to be, and that's the magic of it. So guys, thank you so much for watching and being at the end of this video. If you're still here, it means you're serious about growth, about performing, and about becoming the best version of yourself. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, all you have to do is just subscribe. It would really support me to create more and more videos and give you all the value that I know about the mind and how to utilize it to become your best friend, not your biggest enemy. And on that note, I also would love to offer you that gift. I'm doing a free live training going in depth into why we self-sabotage, how to utilize the mind to become your greatest ally, how do we do subconscious reprogramming, and we dive really deep into how to become the best version of yourself. If you're interested, all you have to do is just click the link in the bio, register, and I'll see you there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.